Ever looked at that ever-growing to learn, playing guitar, maybe coding a new language, and just thought, yeah, I'll get to it someday when I find the time?
Hmm.
Or maybe you felt that frustration barrier when you start something new and you're just, well, you're bad at it.
Oh, yeah. That initial awkwardness.
Exactly, where you're
Right.
so aware of how unskilled you are, and it kind of stops you before you even really get going.
It really can.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into how to blast right through that barrier. Our source for this is Josh Kaufman's really fascinating book, The First 20 Hours: How to Learn Anything Fast.
It's a great one. Really practical.
Totally. Our mission here is to unpack these, well, surprising strategies that let you break through that initial angst, get past being horribly unskilled to, competent enough for your own purposes,
Yeah.
and pretty quickly, actually.
Yeah, and start actually having fun with it.
Right? Forget that slow, confusing slog. This is more like a shortcut to seeing real progress and getting that really rewarding feeling of accomplishment. Okay, so let's dive into this. A lot of us have heard about the 10,000-hour rule, right? Malcolm Gladwell made it famous. Takes like a decade of intense practice to master something.
Right, and it sounds impossible for most things we might want to learn.
Exactly. It feels overwhelming. Like, if it takes that long, why even bother trying something new?
Well, what's really fascinating, and Kaufman points this out clearly, is that Dr. K. Anders Ericsson's original research, the stuff Gladwell cited,
Right.
it was specifically about achieving expert-level performance.
Okay, like top tier.
Yeah, think
Yeah.
Olympic athletes, grandmaster chess players, world-class musician, that level. But the key distinction Kaufman makes for you, the everyday learner, is that reaching good enough for your own purposes, that takes way, way less investment.
So, not becoming the world's best, just
Yeah.
functional, enjoying it.
Exactly. Getting past that horribly unskilled phase where it's just painful to being, reasonably fast and noticeably competent. And that can happen in a surprisingly short amount of time. You don't need to be world-class to enjoy playing a few songs on the ukulele or have a basic conversation in Spanish or build a simple website.
That's a huge mental shift right there. It makes it seem possible again.
It's incredibly freeing, I think.
Okay, so that distinction is crucial. What then, for Kaufman, is skill acquisition really about? He makes a pretty important point about how it's different from other kinds of learning we might do. Can you break that down?
Yeah, this is really important because people often confuse them.
Yeah.
So think about school, right? Josh talks about his own experience, 4 years of high school Spanish, got straight A's,
Sounds familiar.
but couldn't hold a basic conversation. His goal wasn't fluency, it was passing the test.
Right, academic achievement.
Compare that to his friend Carlos. Never took a formal class, but became fluent in English just by, practicing, having conversations in real life. See, academic learning, Kaufman argues, often uses what Dr. Krashen called the monitor hypothesis. You learn rules, and then you use them to check and correct yourself after you try to say or do something.
Okay, like editing your own speech.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But Kaufman says true skill acquisition forces you to internalize things so you can react before you consciously monitor. It's about doing the thing in its real context. That practice is paramount.
So it's not just knowing about something, it's being able to do it.
Precisely. And that's different from training, too. Training is more about improving a skill you already have, like a marathon runner working on their speed.
Or like getting better at chess if you already know the rules.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also different from credentialing, which is just getting a certificate or a degree that says you met someone else's criteria. Skill acquisition, for Kaufman, is all about that hands-on practice geared towards actual real-world performance. Your ability to do something actually changes.
That makes so much sense. So the surprising thing isn't just practice more, it's that this intentional real-world doing is fundamentally different and maybe even bypasses some traditional learning. What's the biggest trap people fall into here?
I think the biggest trap is mistaking reading about something or watching videos about it for actually doing it. Consuming information isn't the same as practicing the skill.
Right, like reading 5 books on swimming won't actually teach you how to swim.
Exactly. You have to get in the water. People spend hours studying theory thinking that knowledge absorption equals competence. But skill acquisition demands active engagement, deliberate repetition in the context of the skill. Knowing about coding isn't coding. Writing code, hitting run, seeing errors, fixing them. That's how you learn to code.
And you mentioned this isn't just theory, it's biology. Our brains are actually built for this. You said the brain is plastic. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. When neuroscientists talk about brain plasticity, They mean your brain literally changes its physical structure and function based on what you do, what you experience, the consequences. It's not fixed.
Wow. Okay.
So as you learn any new skill, whether it's mental, like memorizing facts, or physical, like, say, juggling, the actual wiring in your brain changes, connections between neurons strengthen. There's that famous saying, neurons that fire together wire together.
I've heard that.
It means that as you practice, the pathways involved in that skill become more efficient. So yes, you are capable of learning new things. Your abilities aren't set in stone. You can literally rewire your brain.
Okay, given that our brains can rewire, what's maybe the most counterintuitive way Kaufman suggests we can actually help that process along? How do we best make those neurons fire and wire together faster?
Well, one of the most counterintuitive things is probably the need to embrace being bad at it initially, to embrace the errors.
Which feels wrong. We want to avoid mistakes.
Right. But our brains learn incredibly well through trial and error, especially when the error leads to immediate feedback. That feedback tells your brain, okay, that connection didn't work. Let's try strengthening this other one. Making mistakes and getting that quick correction is your brain actively figuring out the right pathways.
So we need to optimize for that feedback loop.
Exactly. Deliberately put yourself in situations where those neurons have to fire and where you'll know quickly if they misfired. It means actively doing the skill, generating that feedback, even when it feels clumsy or frustrating. You have to be deliberate, especially when you feel incompetent at first.
Okay, so if our brains are ready and the 10,000-hour thing isn't the real barrier for getting good enough, what are the practical steps? Kaufman outlines 10 principles. Let's hit some of the big ones.
Yeah, these are really the core of his method, designed to make practice efficient and leverage that brain plasticity we talked about. First, choose a lovable project. Your enthusiasm matters. If you're genuinely interested, your brain actually helps you learn faster. Things like dopamine release enhance focus, memory. Josh wanted to learn Go, not just any game, but a beautiful game he'd been drawn to for years. That intrinsic motivation makes practice feel less like a chore.
Makes sense. Number 2.
Define your target performance level. What does good enough actually look like for you? For windsurfing, maybe it's just sailing safely on flat water, not tackling giant waves.
So a specific, achievable goal.
Exactly. It reduces overwhelm. It tells your brain precisely what to aim for instead of getting lost in the idea of mastery.
Okay, what's next?
Deconstruct the skill. Break it down. Golf isn't one thing. It's driving, putting, chipping, bunker shots.
Right, smaller pieces.
Yep. Break it into the smallest distinct parts you can manage and focus on the most critical sub-skills first. This makes it way less daunting. Let your brain tackle manageable chunks, building those pathways bit by bit.
Crucial. And then?
Eliminate barriers to practice. This is huge. Identify and remove obstacles. Physical ones, like your guitar being packed away, or mental ones like distractions, TV, phone notifications.
Get rid of anything that makes it harder to just start.
Exactly. Our brains love the path of least resistance. Make practicing the easy option. A focused environment helps those neurons fire consistently.
Good one. Keep going.
Make dedicated time. Kaufman says, finding time is a myth. You must make time. Cut low-value stuff. He did this as a new dad. With limited work hours, he prioritized practice. Consistent effort is what builds and solidifies those neural connections.
Okay. Making time, not finding it. Love that.
Then, create fast feedback loops. We touched on this. Immediate feedback lets you adjust quickly. Crucial for plasticity. If you know instantly what worked or didn't, your brain learns much faster. Think programming errors or a coach correcting you mid-swing.
Instant data. Got it.
Also, practice by the clock in short bursts. Don't just practice until you feel tired. Our sense of time is unreliable. Short, focused sessions, say 20-45 minutes, maybe a few times a day, are often better than one long slog.
Why is that?
Your brain stays more focused in short bursts, and you get more opportunities for that learning consolidation to happen between sessions, more chances for those neurons to wire together.
Interesting. Okay, last one.
Emphasize quantity and speed over perfection, especially at the start. You will be clumsy. Trying for perfection early on just leads to frustration and quitting.
Just get the reps in.
Yeah, get the reps in quickly. Aim for good enough form initially, not flawless execution. Quantity builds the basic pathways. You can refine it later.
Wow, okay. Those are really practical. Let's see how they play out. Let's talk programming first.
Okay.
So Josh had this lovable problem, right? His website, personalmba.com, kept crashing because of traffic.
Yeah, he was spending more time fixing WordPress issues than actually writing. Very frustrating. He realized he didn't truly understand how it worked underneath.
So he decided to learn programming himself. How did he apply that deconstruction principle here? Programming sounds huge.
Totally. And that's exactly what he did not do. He didn't just say learn programming. First, he realized things like HTML and CSS, they're markup. They just format things, not really programming logic.
Okay. Important distinction.
Right. So he focused on the core concepts, variables, conditionals, if this, then do that, exceptions, which is like error handling.
The backup generator idea.
Exactly. And then databases and cookies for web stuff. By breaking it down like that, related directly to his website problem, the huge task became manageable and super relevant.
Makes sense. He chose Ruby and Sinatra as his tools. Now, you mentioned fast feedback loops earlier. How did programming deliver that so powerfully?
Oh, the computer is the ultimate fast feedback loop engine. It's almost instantaneous. He uses this great analogy, the sandwich game.
Okay.
Imagine telling a friend exactly how to make a sandwich, step by tiny step. They can only do precisely what you say. You quickly realize how incredibly precise you have to be.
Yeah, any ambiguity and you get peanut butter on the ceiling.
Pretty much. With code, any tiny mistake, any ambiguous instruction, and the program either crashes or does something weird, creates a bug. And you usually get an error message telling you exactly where it went wrong.
Instant feedback.
Instant, unambiguous feedback. The computer doesn't care if you tried hard, the logic works or it doesn't. And that constant, immediate correction is perfect for the brain to quickly figure out the right neural pathways. It's like having a super patient, super precise tutor for every single keystroke.
And then getting that hello world to actually show up, that must feel amazing.
Huge motivator, that first win. Then he built his note-taking app, Codex, adding features bit by bit, markdown, security messages. That whole code, test, run, debug cycle just reinforces those loops, drives you forward.
Okay, great example. Now let's switch gears. Relearning something touch typing. We all use QWERTY keyboards.
Right. And most of us probably assume it's the best layout. But it wasn't designed for efficiency at all.
It was mechanical, to stop typewriters jamming.
Exactly. A physical solution that just stuck. But there are alternatives. Dvorak was one, more efficient, but changed almost everything. Hard transition.
Okay.
Then came Colmac, developed with computer analysis. It only changes 17 keys from QWERTY, so it's easier to learn, but it still cuts the physical effort needed almost in half compared to QWERTY.
Wow, half the effort.
Yeah. And crucially, it keeps common shortcuts like Ctrl plus C, Ctrl plus V in familiar spots. A very deliberate design to make switching less painful.
But still, overriding decades of QWERTY muscle memory, Josh said it felt like part of his brain had been removed. How did he eliminate barriers and force that adaptation?
His method was pretty hardcore, actually. To stop himself peeking at the keys, which would reinforce QWERTY, he got a DAS keyboard.
The completely blank one.
The completely blank one. No labels at all. He even put paper over his laptop keys. No looking allowed.
Whoa.
It forced him to rely purely on touch, breaking that visual crutch for QWERTY. It literally eliminated the option to cheat. His brain had to build the Colmac pathways using only procedural memory.
That's serious commitment to eliminating barriers. Now, you mentioned sleep earlier, being key for motor skills. How did that fit in? And what was the difference between just using Colmac versus deliberately practicing it?
Right, so motor skills really need sleep to consolidate. The brain solidifies those physical changes during sleep. Josh deliberately practiced Colmac right before bed, within about 4 hours of sleeping.
Maximizing that consolidation window.
Exactly, leveraging the brain's natural process. But the really interesting finding was about practice type. He tried just using Colmac for emails and writing during the day, what he called ambient practice.
Just using it passively.
Yeah, and after 30 days, 0 improvement. Still stuck around 40 words per minute.
Wow, really?
It proved that just using a skill isn't enough to get better, especially when overriding old habits. You need deliberate, practice-focused, intentional effort, usually with specific exercises and feedback.
So what did that deliberate practice look like?
He used typing tutor software that focused on n-grams, these really common 2- or 3-letter combinations like e, te, he, in.
Drilling the common patterns.
Exactly. Directly training the procedural memory for those high-frequency sequences in Colmac. And after just 22 hours of that deliberate practice,
Yeah.
he was back to his original QWERTY speed of 61 words per minute. But, he said, it felt much easier, like just twiddling your fingers, because his hands moved so much less. A huge gain in efficiency.
22 hours of focused work to basically rewire decades of habit. That's impressive. Okay, final example. The ukulele. This sounds like fun.
This was definitely a lovable project for him. He wanted to play music for his newborn daughter, Layla.
Ah!
Yeah. And he remembered reading about the ukulele, cheap, portable, easy to play. Tom Hodgkinson called it more punk than the guitar, low barrier to entry, high potential for fun.
Perfect. Now, how did he use pre-commitment here? That sounds interesting.
Yes. Instead of buying a cheap beginner ukulele, he bought a custom-made, high-end Grizzly ukulele. Cost thousands.
Whoa.
Well, partly because it sounded better, which is motivating, but the main reason, he admitted it would be a complete embarrassment to have an instrument this nice and not be able to play it.
Ha! Financial and social pressure.
Exactly. That big investment created a strong external push. He was substantially invested in the outcome, which helped overcome any lack of motivation to practice.
Clever.
Yeah.
And he set a crazy deadline perform publicly in 10 days.
Yeah, at a conference. Talk about pressure.
So how did he deconstruct playing the ukulele to possibly meet that?
Brilliantly simple, actually. First step, learn to tune it. Can't play if it's not in tune.
Okay, basic but essential.
Then, chords. And here's where the power law comes in, again, like with typing. He found out that just 10 to 12 common chords let you play a huge number of popular songs.
The 80-20 rule for music.
Pretty much. Focus on those high-leverage chords first. That unlocked a massive repertoire very quickly, making that 10-day goal seem less insane.
Okay, but playing chords is one thing. Playing and singing at the same time, that's tricky. How did he tackle that?
He used a method from guitarist Derek Sivers, another great example of deconstruction and layering. First, just memorize the song. Sing it a cappella until you know the melody and lyrics cold.
Okay, isolate the singing part.
Yep. Then, practice singing the note names or the chord names while playing the ukulele. Separates the song knowledge from the physical playing.
Ah, connecting the abstract to the action.
Right. And only then, once those two parts are solid, do you try adding the actual lyrics while playing the chords. It breaks down the complexity, prevents that feeling of juggling too many things at once, builds confidence layer by layer.
That makes a lot of sense. And did it work?
Amazingly well. He also learned finger picking, which uses the same chords, just a different right-hand pattern, opening up more textures and the basic 1-4-5 progression, the foundation of tons of songs. And yeah, after just 10 hours of practice, he performed at the conference.
10 hours. And how did it go?
He said it went really well.
Yeah.
People applauded. He could even look out at the audience, not just down at his fingers, which shows he reached that good enough level he'd aimed for.
Wow. 10 hours from zero to public performance. That's incredible.
It really highlights the power of the method. If you connect all these examples, programming, typing, ukulele, shows that rapid skill acquisition isn't really about some innate talent or grinding for endless hours.
It's about the approach.
It's about a systematic, deliberate, smart approach. Choosing something you care about, breaking it down, focusing on what matters most, removing the friction, making the time, and getting that fast, clear feedback. The time investment can be way less than we think if the process is intelligent. It really taps into how our brains are built to learn.
So your brain really is more adaptable, more capable of change than you probably realize. Listening to this, what stands out to you? What's that skill you've been putting off because you thought it would take forever?
Maybe it wasn't the time that was the barrier.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just needing a different method.
Yeah. Imagine dusting off your own want-to-do list. Pick something you genuinely love to do. Define what good enough would actually mean for you, what would make you happy, what would be useful, and then commit to those first 20 hours using these kinds of smart, deliberate strategies.
You might really surprise yourself.
Absolutely. So the question is, what will you start learning today?